host meetings. Oh yes, just to let everyone know, this meeting is being recorded for public records. So if you don't want to be part of that, either don't speak or you can leave the meeting now. We also have the ability to have matching grants. So we do have events during the year. Last year, we weren't able to because of COVID. We're still working to see out whether we can do something this year. If we are, then we'll definitely try to put something on. And if anyone has any items for the agenda, I've been receiving some through emails. If you just send me an email, my email is actually in the chat. So if you want to send me an email for any questions you may have, or if you have any items that you'd like us to discuss at the NAC, please let me know. And thank you very much for coming. And we'll move straight on by starting with Jim.
Thank you.
Officer Jim.
That's right. I really don't have anything this week. I haven't gotten updated stats or anything from our department, so I don't really have much to talk about. So unless anyone has any questions, I've got nothing.
Okay. Have the roads caused many accidents around here, or were people actually learning how to drive in the snow?
No, there were still a lot of accidents, I'm sure you can imagine. Yeah. I think, and it seems to have gotten a little worse once the weather started getting a little better. I think people started driving a little faster, and they would hit, ice spots and kind of lose control of the car. So,
yeah.
My question.
Yes. Sorry, Richard. Yes.
Thank you. On Nextdoor, I've seen a lot of people complaining about every week there's somebody coming into their driveway, and people that park their cars in their driveway, somebody's walking around their car trying to see it, check the door handles. Sometimes it's unlocked. Sometimes somebody's forgotten to lock their car. People are talking about somebody jumping the fence and walking through the yards. I'm just curious, is this, is it different during the pandemic, or is this just something that's going on all the time and people on Nextdoor have now gotten these webcams now, and they're noticing, and they didn't notice before. They didn't know that. Or I'm not quite sure what's going on. Why all of a sudden this is happening?
If it's happening more now, I do know it used to happen often in the past. We would get calls, middle of the night when I used to work on graveyard, 2, 3 in the morning, people reporting, seeing unknown subjects walking down the street, just trying door handles. So I don't know if you bring up a good point, more people having those ring type door cameras, and now they're seeing it the next morning. So I don't know the answer to that, if it's happening more now or people are just noticing it more. But I do know it happened often in the past. Yeah. And I can imagine that it might be happening more now, especially with us not being able to lodge people on like non-personal misdemeanor crimes. So unless unless you assaulted someone or domestic violence, people aren't getting lodged into jail. You're getting a criminal citation. So that may have part of it to do with why people are out there more kind of brazen about it.
Lisa.
Yeah, so actually we did have our car, one of our cars was accessed. We thought it was locked. It may not have been, but obviously this means someone tried to get in it. So
right.
And yeah, there we made a police report. This feels like a while ago, but I guess it must have been like the week or two after our last meeting. Yeah, so like the end of January, and the person was able to get a hold of some credit cards that were left in the car, and spent money at Walgreens, but we caught it all. Also spent money on a website for clothing. But we caught it all, and we're not out any money. because of that. The bank caught it all. This is the first time that anything like that has happened to us here at Sterling Point. But I have seen somebody at one point had put up signs of like, you know, your car isn't safe here, be careful. And I know it's been, you know, it's happened here and there. We're pretty sure that the person got into the car around 4 a.m. based on when they spent the money. So something that, you know, someone's doing in the cover of night.
Right.
But
right.
Yeah, I think it's complex, you know, addressing the exact reasons, and there's always going to be people who are going to make really bad decisions.
Yeah. Most are not like breaking in, like it's more crimes of opportunity.
Opportunity, right.
They're looking for cars that have, they're usually not breaking, you know, windows to try to get in unless, you know, you have something really valuable.
Right. Actually, there was a gym bag in there, like I don't know if it was like Fila or Puma gym bag, and they took the bag, they dumped the bag out and took the bag.
Right.
Just dumped out all the clothes and everything and just took the bag. I was like, wow. Yeah,
because they're probably using the bag, going to cars, using that bag to carry more things.
Right.
Doing with
crazy.
So I know that sergeants have been telling people to drive around, you know, streets late at night more often, especially since the call volume's been down, to try to tell our graveyard cars and your swing cars to kind of be a presence and see if you can try to deter.
Yeah. Right.
But it's tough. There's only, you know, 6 or 7 officers in the middle of the night covering all the cities.
Right, so, exactly. It's impossible. It's not like you can, stop everyone, but.
Yeah. Any other questions for Jimmy Ho? Yes, Debbie.
I had asked at our last meeting about the police report in the Times newspaper.
Oh, that's right.
And is that something that I should just email the public information officer, or?
Well, it's not going to be through him. It's going to be through our crime analyst, and I will follow up with her. So, and then I want to message me or email me directly, and I can just, I don't know if you want to wait till our next meeting, or if you want me to just contact you directly.
Yeah, email's fine.
Okay.
It's a little bit like, you know, talking about the car break-ins and stuff, that it's just sort of, you know, what's going on in the area and that kind of thing. That, you know, I just found it interesting that it was in the Times newspaper along with all the other, you know, surrounding communities, and then suddenly there wasn't anything from Beaverton. So, but email contact is fine.
Okay, all right, I'll do that.
Hey, David, you had a question?
Actually, a quick comment. Lisa's story sort of inspired me as well. I had the chance to call the Beaverton police because that was part of the instruction I got, because I was a victim of identity theft. And so this is just a reminder to everybody to protect your credentials. I actually work in security at Intel, so it's kind of a funny thing. But someone filed for unemployment in the state of Kentucky using my credentials. And when I called Oregon Department they said, oh yeah, someone filed for you in Oregon as well, but we turned it down. I was like, awesome. Wish you had told me. Anyway, so this is just a kind of a reminder for everybody in the call, you know, protect stuff like your Social Security, and which I think people usually do, but it's just a good reminder. And the department said, well, we can't really do anything unless we know somebody to actually put the name to put on the report, which I get, right? It's probably just a reminder for us all to be vigilant.
But along with the car break-ins, there have been mail theft from locked mailboxes, as well as mailboxes that aren't locked, which I don't know, is that a contact the post office, or is there a need to file a police report too?
So I would say contact us, and then we normally we'll let the post office know. So yeah, contact.
Okay, thank you, Officer Jim. Anyone else, any questions before we move on? Okay, thank you very much, Officer Jimmy. Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
if you're around still at the end, if I could have a quick word with you when you're finished, or when we finish here, if you're still around. If not, I'll send you an email.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Okay, next then, Tualatin Hills, John, thank you.
So class registration is still open for online classes and some winter outdoor classes. Building updates. We opened up Conestoga Rec and Aquatic Center and Cedar Hills Recreation Center and the Tennis Center this week. The plan is for the Aquatic Center, we're aiming for March 8th for those. And then we'll have weight room and lap swims and fitness classes available by reservation. Summer planning is underway. In district, summer registration opens Saturday, May 1st. And the summer camp information will be available on the website April 12th. The second Talking Wall series is coming this month. THPRD is partnering with the Native American Youth and Family Center and Color Outside the Lines for a second series of Talking Wall murals, and they'll be at Greenway Park, and the work on those murals starts February 21st. Free fitness in the park is back. There's going to be a free drive-in bingo and other community events all on our website for information. And Unity Park has now been open to the public. It was formerly known as Northwest Youth Athletic Field. It's a newly developed park, and it's part of the 2008 bond measure. It has an athletic field, open space, a perimeter pathway, picnic tables, benches, and it's has a shared parking with Living Hope Church. That's all that I have for that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, John. Any questions for John? Okay. With regards, John, I just have the one that I mentioned earlier. Is there someone I should contact about cleaning up all these branches because they're all over the fence, all over the floor? Is that something they're going to do, or they just leave it there?
They're working. I know the maintenance crew is working through it. If I would, I can get you the number of Fano Creek Service Center. That's where our maintenance department's headed out of.
Okay.
And I'd route through them, and they'll come and get there. But I know they've been.
I know they're busy. It's not urgent now, but there is an awful lot that came down. So
yeah, I just call and put it on their radar.
Yeah. So if you send me, you've got my email address. So if you send me the phone number, I'll give them a call and let them know.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much, John.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, sorry.
Is that related to like near your property or like in Highland Forest Park?
Oh, I'm not sure. We're getting a lot of echoing from you. Sorry.
Can you hear me better now? No?
No, we're getting a lot of feedback.
Okay.
Sound like an alien.
Yes.
It's a little bit choppy. Yeah, I don't know. It's like really.
I have a question. I'm not sure if it's for John or not, but who comes around and cleans up the gravel that's all over the street?
Oh, that's probably a Miles question. Isn't that a city responsibility?
I would think so.
I think
it's
it
really,
depends.
really bad on our street.
Yeah, it's very slippery. I won't be taking the bike out for a while.
probably city street sweeper, whatever the schedule is for that.
They were out there this morning.
Okay.
On our street?
Yep. Well, on Maverick Terrace, I don't know how, I didn't follow them.
Okay. Well, we can ask Miles when he comes up for his city update. He'll be after
they
Richard.
have I think they follow the street sweeping route is what I think they do.
Okay. So Heidi, do you want to try again?
She just messaged.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, no, so mine are in Cobb Park. There's a whole bunch of trees just at the back of the property. One of the trees went through my tent trailer, put a hole in the roof. So there's a whole bunch of it now all over the place. Fortunately, it didn't hit the car. Otherwise, it would have damaged that as well. But yeah, it's just cleaning it up. There's a lot of those trees came down with the snow and ice.
So Heidi was asking in the chat, she mentioned, she was asking about Highland Forest Park, the 30-acre park that's right next to us, and what the schedule might be for going in there, because they get always, every year, every winter is dropping trees and limbs.
So John, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I don't know their schedule. I can reach out. I think that one wouldn't be the maintenance department, but our natural resources. And I think their rangers would go through there and drop some stuff.
Okay. If you want to send me a number and I'll pass it on to Heidi, or we can ring from here.
I just sent it.
Okay. Thank you so much indeed. Okay. If there's no more questions for John, we're then going to go to Gary. We're moving the agenda around because Miles has got a double conflict because of power outage. So he's actually doing 2 NACs tonight. So let's go to Gary.
Works for me. At the last BCCI meeting, Councillor Tibnon was there for the entirety of the meeting. I think she may be the liaison between the City Council and BCCI. Time will tell there. She was asked to pass on what she perceived at that time as the major issues for the city. The first one that she listed was residential infill development. The second was generally the COVID pandemic and how do you keep people safe, employees, citizens, so on. And then the last major issue she listed was getting the new administration up and running under the new charter. Moving on to the next topic, Beaverton School District brought around their long-range planning documents. They are basically the same documents that they presented to the NAC a month ago, and they will be out and about during the course of the coming year. They're basically required to share these documents annually by the state. Brian Martin brought the House Bill 2001, that's the housing options plan. He brought an update to the BCCI, and we'll be doing the same to the NACs during the month of March and April. Basically, this thing is citywide with a minor exception in the Cooper Mountain area. But I think by now everybody's pretty familiar with the notion that House Bill 2001 does not allow any single family only zones, and Beaverton has about 5 or 6 of them. There are 2 ways to go through this program that are available. The city's choices are to adopt a model code to establish standards for minimum compliance, or to establish performance standards. And the performance standards is pretty much along the lines of a master plan, which appears to be the way the city is going with Cooper Mountain, so that housing options component gets folded into the master plan for Cooper Mountain. Siting and design standards will vary by model. The city's working on it. They have posted an excellent link or an excellent document on the webpage titled Housing Variety and State Law Fact Sheet. And it's basically it's a PowerPoint presentation, and it's very well done. It's worth the time for the read. It appears as though siting and design rules are going to vary by model, but those will be the ones that I think probably are going to have the most noticeable impact on any particular neighborhood. For example, where do you park? How many parking places do you require? And there are certain locations in the city that just don't lend themselves very well to this type of redevelopment. Other places do, and that's what that development by type and age study was all about that they released about 3 months ago now. Anyway, having said that, they'll be out and about March through May in talks or briefings with the NACs and the BCCI. Let's see, BCCI committee updates. The one that's probably the most crucial right now that I'm going to spend just a touch of time on is the voters forum. The events committee is going to be holding a voters forum April 29th at 6:30 p.m. It appears as though this is going to be a virtual event. I don't see it not being. For the special election, we have as pretty much everybody knows, I think, there is a vacancy in the city council that was as a result of creating the new position. Lastly, there are no development applications in the South Beaverton area that have been posted.
The voters forum will also include board members for Tualatin Hills Parks and Rec District too.
You're right.
There's open seats there. So
yeah, good catch. Thank you.
Okay. Carry on then, Gary. Sorry.
I'm done.
Okay.
I was going to make a quick comment, Mike, on this one, particularly with HR 2001. I read a great article, actually in the New York Times, about how California has really failed. Debbie and I have talked about this. She may have commented about this, but has kind of failed its obligation to try and provide better housing density. You know, they espouse that's an important thing for them, but they haven't actually passed any laws which allow for it. So my comment is I'm proud of our state for trying to make some changes that reflect the desire to have, you know, some more housing density, because I think you know, we could go the same sort of rate. So I'm actually kind of proud of the state of Oregon, you know, for doing, you know, HB 2001. However, you know, it's going to come on all of us, of course, as neighbors to try and, you know, deal with the consequences. But, you know, we're living to our value to try and provide, you know, places to live for people. So anyway, that was a random comment I thought I would stick it.
No, thank you, David. Any other comments? So Gary, the only one I have is, I'm not sure, you talked about Brian Martin. I haven't seen that come up on the agenda yet or a request. Are they going to be doing that shortly?
Well, they said March, let's see, let me go back to my notes, March through May. So, okay. You know, that's what, one a week for 3 months?
I'll talk to Miles about it, because I like to get into these things early so we have a little bit more flexibility to book it.
Yeah, I was going to suggest if earlier information isn't quite as complete, but you know, they'll be moving through a process. They'll have a timeline, a time chart, and I'm sure, and I know that they have a good webpage for the Cooper Mountain area, which they're treating as a kind of a separate master plan area. And then they have on the House Bill 2001 section of their webpage a pretty good summary of where they are at any particular time.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions then for Gary? Thank you for your update, Gary. Okay, so as we've moved Miles down, we have open discussions for our event planning next, which is spot on time, 7 o'clock. So this is something we discussed last month, sorry. And we're looking at where do we go for us this year. And I'm hoping that people have come up with some ideas. I don't want to lead off with ideas, so I'm going to open it to the floor. Has anyone come up with any ideas about what can we do for our event planning for 2021? Yes, Richard.
So there's a program that the Beaverton School District has called Beaverton Safe Routes to School. And the reason I bring this up is it has two dimensions to it. One is if someone does an audit, there's a form for Heighton Elementary School. If someone fills out the form and we get enough people to do this and volunteer to do this, then turn them in to the person that's the Safe Routes to School coordinator for the school district, then they can use that information about the conditions of the sidewalks and where there are, hazards and stuff. They can use that information to get money to take care of those problems. So the school district has on their site, they have a map for Heighton Elementary School, and they show the safe routes are marked. So it's not a hard thing to do. They've already organized it all for us, and we could organize multiple people to be able to cover these routes. The Heighton catchment area stretches, as you guys probably know, from Highland Park. The backside of Highland Park is the boundary, all the way down to Shoals Ferry Road, and along there. And so there's a lot of walking routes, trails going in between houses. There's quite a distance in here. So I thought that that might be an opportunity for us to have both get money, help the school district get money to fix these things, and the city, and also to get volunteer hours that we can then book with the city.
Okay, that sounds a great idea. Could you send a link for that either to me, and then I'll send it out to the rest of the board members?
Yeah, and for an event, it seems like what you could do is on a Saturday or something like that, maybe get, say, hey, everyone come out, and then we can, split up the routes or something like that and kind of walk them or something like that if they're amenable to that, and just kind of have a fun event out of it. I think that sounds cool.
Okay. I'll do some more investigation onto that one, that's for sure. Yes, David.
And I was thinking about this, and it was a little bit muddy in my thinking, so maybe you can help clarify it. I've been very inspired about how when I see communities come together for each other when they see a need and they can meet it. And the example, what I was thinking about during COVID, a couple of places in our neighborhood, I noticed that somebody had set up like a table and had put out a bunch of food, and that other, because we have people that are out of work, that have food insecurity issues and things of that sort. And they brought food and they put it, I don't know if you've seen this or not. It's like I said, I see a couple of different places, and I thought, wow, there was not organized at all, like officially city-wise or something like that. But it was like very cool to see neighbors coming together to help neighbors in a time of need. And to me, that sort of defines kind of community in some respects. So what inspired me about this is to think, well, I wonder if there's some way we could either encourage something like this. I mean, I know we talked about the little libraries, which I think is another great need, right? But I thought, I wonder, I just, kind of kick that out there to say, ways that we can encourage involvement, which don't necessarily mean coming to a particular sort of event, but, because I'm not sure everybody even in the community even knows about these things. And maybe it's a bad idea if they did, because then, malfeasance would happen or something, I don't know. But anyway, that was one of the things that sort of inspired me to think, could we have other things like that would help those who are going through rough patches, and that, people with an abundance, you know, can very easily share with those that have a need. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I think it would be to build on the ideas, like talking about the safe routes to school, but to sort of have a map overlay where you can do the, you know, here's the South Beaverton neighborhood, here's Heighton Elementary and the safe routes to school, and then another overlay of here's where the little libraries are in the neighborhood, and another overlay of here's where the, you know, food pantry libraries are. So that it's not a, you know, going to the school district website for this and the neighborhood association website, city website for this, and to sort of have it kind of be all in one place. But
that's a really interesting idea, Debbie. I think all of them, combining those together, definitely builds more of a neighborhood because you've got multiple layers going on. I've got something I'm going to share with you that Janice mentioned, but I want to give everyone else a chance first. So anyone else with any ideas?
Well, the other thing that we talked about a couple of months ago was doing a shredding event.
Right. Okay.
I was going to tell you guys, can you hear me better now?
No.
No.
You have a buzz when you talk. It's like you're talking through a
wasp.
Okay.
Every time you speak, the wasp speaks for you, but he's humming at the same time. Did you want to type something and I'll read it for you? Okay. And anything else?
Yeah, so I was thinking more about, you know, I had brought up the little free libraries and also like some sort of art campaign, I guess, community art kind of thing. I haven't gotten, at least unless I missed the email, I don't think I've gotten anything from Miles yet as far as a map of like city-owned plots of land within our NAC that we would be allowed to do this on. So I think we need that before we can really like move forward with this. So maybe we can follow up on that later. But I found out about something, and I wonder if it's the same thing that David was just talking about. But it's called the Beaverton Food Project. Am I allowed to share my screen? It looks like I am. So let me try it. Let's see. Some meetings don't let you share your screen, but this one.
No, we can see that.
I guess because I'm a panelist, so it's letting me. So yeah, I don't know if this is exactly the same thing that that you had seen, David, but it is pretty awesome. It's really just a community sponsored fridge / food pantry type of thing, and there's only a few of them, and I don't think there are any in our NAC.
Yeah, you know, no, these are different kind of thing, but this is a slightly better organized version than what I saw. I mean, literally, I Lisa, it'd be somebody put out a card table, and you know, I'd like go running down Davies, and I'd look over in the Heighton Ridge. I think it's in our NAC, right? And I look over there, and I go, wow, there's a whole bunch of food on that table. You know, this would be 5 in the morning, right? That I'm running past. It's like, wow, that is very cool, right? And then the little roundabout over on, you know, where Hart Road, you know, past Sorrento, similar, you know, kind of deal. I don't know if that's us or that may be Highland.
That's Highland NAC.
But that was, that's the same kind of, it's a slightly less organized thing than this. This looks like it's slightly better organized, but yeah.
So this is I think I found, I'm trying to remember exactly who told me about this. It might have been Megan Cohen from the Social Services Funding Committee, maybe. But I think they were inspired by what started in Portland. Yeah, PDX Free Fridge. So it was started in Portland, and then there was a group of people in Beaverton who decided to start it here. So, I mean, they do have, you know, kind of some resources and info. And I wondered what it would look like, you know, for us to partner with them. Obviously, the fridge itself is really that would be like a big commitment, because we would have to find probably a resident. Yeah, we'd have to find someone who would run this from their house or something. And I don't know what that would look like. That could be challenging, but, and I certainly can't do it because I live in apartments. So yeah, I mean, I wondered though, if we at least wanted to reach out to see if there's any way we could partner with them. I'll put this link in the chat so everyone
Thank you.
has it.
So Lisa, can I give you the action if you want to reach out to them and see if they're interested in, or what it would take for us to do something?
Sure. Yeah. I would be happy to contact
and then
them.
bring it back next week. If you can communicate obviously before then, but next month when we chat, we
said
can
next week, and I thought, are we meeting weekly now? This is
no,
awesome.
no, it's me.
Awesome.
It's like good morning, good night, good evening. They're all the same to me. It's all blended in. You know, I live in a dungeon with no windows, so I can never tell.
Oh gosh.
But thank you. Yes, if you could do that for next month, that would be great.
Yeah, I would be happy to.
Any other comments? Any other? I've got to check my time. Yeah, we're still okay. So, any other comments? So one of the things.
Really quickly,
yeah,
I just wanted to say about the refrigerator part. I showed a property a while ago in Portland that the next door neighbor had one of those fridges out in their yard, and that was the first time both myself and my client had seen or heard of something like that. And you know, she went over there and read the description of, you know, what it was, because we didn't know what it was, and she was a little worried that that was at the property next door to the home that she was considering purchasing, and just wasn't sure. I mean, obviously this was, I think it was like Northeast Portland or something like that, but she was bothered by it, that it might bring people that she wasn't wanting in her neighborhood or right next door to her house. So I don't know if that's necessarily the same scenario in our type of neighborhood, but just wanted to throw that out there, that the actual refrigerator might be a little difficult.
I think that is always a difficult consideration, because you always get the unpleasant aspects of people, but do we stop helping other people because there are some that will abuse it or make it difficult? It's something we have to work through, I think. Yeah.
I do know that the one that's over at the traffic circle on Hart and Sorrento, that it's right by somebody's driveway, and I think they have kind of maintained it. It's not a refrigerator, but they did have a couple of ice chests when the weather was warmer, so that you could put stuff in there that, you know, needed to stay cold. Obviously, it would be the sort of thing that you'd want to check it every day for what was in there, but it wasn't a refrigerator. I have never seen that.
Yeah.
before.
This was a full-on refrigerator, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's what, I mean, it's PDX Free Fridge, and then the Beaverton Food Project is doing both, I think, fridges and pantries or just tables. But, you know, I think this is a topic that has come up, like kind of the broader topic has come up quite a bit, you know, in the NAC over the years that I've been involved. And I think it's really just a question of what kind of community do we want to be? Do we want to be supportive and welcoming, or, you know, not? And for me, like, it's pretty clear for me where I stand, and that's what I'm going to advocate for when I'm here. You know, because it's what I believe, but there are certainly people that don't believe those things, and I understand that.
And I think, as Officer Jimmy Ho said earlier today, you know, with the environment that we're in at the moment, there's a number of cases. I share this example. My son works in Portland for AT&T. He's had his car windows smashed twice now, and they didn't steal anything. They just smashed his window. So he had to pay out of his own pocket to have it repaired. And it's in a 2-story car park with cameras all around, because it's where they officially park for their company. But the comment was, when they report it, well, the police cannot do anything about it because they can't catch them, or, you know, exactly the same thing as was being mentioned earlier. I think we get to a point where if we build a community where we're self-policing, we can deter that on our own just because of the way that we deal with those types of instances. Not that we become vigilantes, but just encouraging people not to do that. You know, it's very hard, but you're always going to get those that will do those type of things. Jimmy, did you have a comment? Officer Ho, did you have a comment?
No, I pretty much agree with what you're saying. I mean, I think you could try to help limit it, you know, through the use of the community, but ultimately there's always going to be those people, the outliers that are crimes, no matter what you do. And
I don't know if anyone saw KGW News tonight, the guy who does all this investigation, but he said that, I don't know if you heard about the dumpster diving that went on at Fred Meyer's. And he said what astounded him with that wasn't that wasn't what was going on, but it said the volume of people that are desperate for food, that they would go and get food that had been out of refrigeration for hours, but they needed food. And I think that's probably a stronger story for us to look at, as you were saying, Lisa, of how do we help these people? You know, because it could be any one of us, you know, just because they live in our area, in a house area around us, they may still be out of work and still are struggling to find food. So.
And you know, we have abundance at various times, and I often think, well, I don't want to throw stuff away, but at the same time, could someone make use of it, right? And that can get crazy too. It's like, oh, my worn out running shoes. No, come on, that's a little extreme. But food,
it'd be famous, you know, David. They'd be famous. You know, these things are run all the way around Beaverton.
Yeah, right.
But no, I agree. And so, yes, I think we have to be cautious, but at the same time, we also have to try to reach out to people. That's my view, and I probably shouldn't have it as the chair, so I'm going to shut up. So anyway, comments from my wife, and it's really wrapping a lot of what's been said today. She made the suggestion, and we need to flush it out in the details, but if we were to break down our NAC into smaller communities and actually have like a competition of community help, one thing which would be we would discover how many other subparts of our NAC are helping other people out, and also use it to reward those to actually encourage more people to do something about it. And I know this is not fully fleshed out yet, but it would be things like those that help their neighbors, those that look after the elderly people, they haven't seen them for a while, and maybe set up a system where they could, again, don't shoot down the idea yet because we've got to work out the details, but being able to say, well, this community get 10 points for this and 5 points for that. And at the end of the year, the one that has the most gets a prize or gets an award of some sort, you know, just to try and build that greater community spirit rather than doing it as a whole NAC, but break it into subgroups so people feel more part of it because it's their piece of the South Beaverton NAC. And maybe that's something that we can play with.
You know, I gotta say, I like that, you know, the concept that there's a little psychology there when you recognize people for the good stuff they're doing, people will tend to, you know, repeat it, right? And, you know, even the person who's supporting that table in the roundabout, you know, given an award to say, maybe they don't want their recognition of that kind, maybe they don't want, but, you know, recognize sort of people for doing those sorts of things and, you know, helping their neighbors out and just making things available, I think is powerful psychologically for getting people more engaged.
Well, and I think it's also like Kristal mentioned that she'd never seen this before, but if it is more publicized, hey, that's interesting. We could do something like that here. We know that there's several people that are suffering. And again, keeping it as a local community, you're doing something for your neighbors rather than trying to solve world hunger for everybody else, but you're helping your
solving
neighbors.
World hunger at the small, right?
Yeah, at the microscopic level first, because they're the ones that we probably can impact the most. And
a lot of people are living lives where they don't want to, really suburban neighborhood, they don't want to tell their neighbors what they're suffering through. They don't want to, you know, and they don't even talk to their neighbors. And so having something like this that makes them feel like it's more of a community, I think is really powerful.
Yeah, actually, go ahead, Demi.
What I'm thinking is sort of a combination neighborhood watch, informal HOA. Like, I mean, an HOA is like, we're going to enforce the rules, but it would be like a reverse HOA of you know, that you know your neighbors, and you're, you know, you're looking out for your immediate neighborhood. And I know that looking at the police department website, at the very bottom, there's like information about Neighborhood Watch. But, and I had asked at some point, I don't think I asked Officer Ho, but ask another officer in the department if the whole Neighborhood Watch thing was even an active program anymore, because there's a lot of information on there about, you know, how you set it up in terms of, you know, contact information, and, you know, I know who lives 2 houses down, and I know their phone number, and if there's a emergency or, you know, whatever. And so I'm wondering if it even like involving the CERT team, because I think, you know, with the ice storm and all of that, and, you know, people without power, it's like there were people who were not far away. Like I know there were several people in the Highland neighborhood that lost power. But the way those things can happen, it's like, oh, 2 blocks away, I have power. And so, hey, if you need anything, knowing, you know, and I think Nextdoor kind of does that informally. But, you know, we
Debbie,
do have a huge NAC. So
right.
I think that breaking it down into smaller communities is a good idea.
Debbie, what's CERT? You said you used the term CERT.
The emergency response team. Is it coordinated emergency response?
Yeah, they do map your neighborhood. So basically get to know your neighbor, get to know the people that live, the older people that live in a house, which may not know where the gas main is. So they will map that for them, so that if there is an earthquake, the idea was if there was a big earthquake, 1, you go check on them to make sure they got out. 2, you know where their gas switch is, so you can switch it off so they don't gas the house out, things like that. So, but the other thing Janice mentioned, you mentioned Nextdoor. Nextdoor has the ability to break up into smaller groups, like they have a fun group and they have something. So we could do a neighborhood support group type thing and break it up into smaller groups. So smaller groups within that, people could say, hey, we have a need, you know, we have someone who needs a generator because they have a machine at home for their medical help and they've lost power for a week. I don't know, as an example. So there's something that we could definitely look at to do that. Okay, any other comments, Lisa?
Yeah, I was just going to mention, just to jump back to something that was said before about just kind of our neighborhood and whether people are comfortable with it if they fall into hard times and find themselves, you know, struggling to cover bills or get food. We heard from Casey's Corner Food Pantry at Murray Hills Christian Church, which is right on the other side of our NAC, I guess, technically. But with the Social Services Funding Committee for the City of Beaverton that I'm on, we heard from them last year that they were seeing a lot more people, obviously, and then also a lot of people who were like, I can't believe I have to come to a food pantry. Like a lot of people who it was like the first time, and for them and or their family, and there was a lot of like just struggle with it and, you know, almost like shame. And so that's why I honestly really like the ideas of the free food that is open, and just come and take what you can or leave what you can, because I think that it provides, you know, just that openness for people that that support is here, you know, and it's open for you. So I mean, I think I like this idea a lot better than my little free library idea now, once I found out about it. So I'll definitely reach out to them and see if we could partner with them somehow, what we might be able to do.
Yeah. And I agree with your comment about the stigmatism of saying that, oh, I need help with my food. People don't feel like they need to depend, they don't want to have to depend on anyone else, because the American dream is, you know, taking your own dream and running with it. But there are times when we all need some help. And I think if we can remove that stigma of doing something or being part of it because it's commonplace, people don't feel so embarrassed and maybe they can be helped. So that's great. Okay, we're sorry.
I know that at Vose, there's food distribution. I mean, they do the lunch distribution, but they also once a month do food distribution, and the food comes from the Oregon Food Bank. I don't know if Highland or if Highton is doing anything like that in coordination, or if it's because Vose is a Title I school that that's why they're doing it at Vose.
She won't tell you, but Debbie Stewart goes out there and she helps distribute food once a month at Vose. So she's out there in the cold, and she's awesome. Yeah.
But talking about, you know, whether it's at a school or maybe the church that's on Brockman and 135th would be, you know, willing to be a partner.
And that is the other thing I think we can do. I'm going to talk about it later, but if you remember last year, we had the Southwest Hills Baptist Church came in for a development. Well, they're actually coming back next month because that development's now moving forward again. So they've asked if they can come back and present next month. But partnering with them will be a great opportunity. They're pretty much right in the middle of our NAC, and having a food pantry or something there that we could coordinate through them would definitely help, because they have the land and the ability to be able to do that. So looking for other partners, I think, would be great. And I think that may address, Kristal, some of your concerns by putting something at a corner of a house. It makes it a little bit more difficult for people. And you put it somewhere where it's more common ground where people can go in there. That make it a little bit easier. But
right, and I wasn't trying to sound negative about.
Oh no, I didn't take it negative. No, okay. Please don't.
Okay, I was like, I'm totally for it. I just wanted to point out my observation that I experienced with the whole refrigerator being in someone's front yard.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. I have concerns and I've had to get over some of them myself, but I agree with you. We have to take this as a balanced.
Debbie, I think we should put a fridge in our front yard. I think that's a great idea. I'm really I'm excited now. In fact, I know the fridge we could put in there. No, it's a freezer. Never mind.
Because our cul-de-sac gets a whole lot of traffic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's that. Okay.
So yeah, the church would be great. That would be a good idea.
I'm going to play the Grinch. I'm going to put a fridge in my front yard, but I'm going to leave it empty. So anyway, sorry, we need to move on. So my English humor is not wearing out very well.
The other safety thing you have to consider with refrigerators is children.
Oh yes, yeah. I put my kids in fridges every now and again to tell them to chill for a while. It works really well.
An empty fridge, especially. It's a safety.
Dude, the police are on the line. You don't joke about that stuff, dude. This is like having HR on the line. It's a bad idea. Just
if you have ever watched Hogan's Heroes, they're always talking about putting the bad boys in the cooler. So yeah, that's where I got it from. It's on TV. Okay. It must be good. Yeah. All right, enough of this frivolity. We need to move forward. And I don't put my kids in the fridge or freezer. Please don't take that serious. These days, you never know. Right, so this just about wraps it up. I think there's a lot of great ideas. Thank you for all your comments. I'll try and work a plan out and try and send it out between now and then, and we can have a look at it. So we have some more discussions at the next meeting next month. I've asked Richard if he will give us an update on the Beaverton Climate Action Plan. If I will be open and honest, I should never have an opinion. I've been told as a chair I shouldn't have an opinion, but I'm going to have one anyway. One of the things that I struggle with all the time is the mismedia, the misnews, the one-sided stories that come out, and both sides seem to do it anymore, and that makes it very hard. So one of the things I'm trying to do is just make sure we have an open and honest discussion about a lot of these things, and we can air both sides of it, because I think until we get away from this mistrust of the information, we're never going to get to move forward. Because we're always saying, oh yeah, these people are the greenhouse gases people, that doesn't exist. And you have the other side that, yes, it's really serious. And if we don't get a meeting of the minds by getting over some of those disconnections, we're never going to work together on it effectively. So I want to give Richard an opportunity to share it, and hopefully, Richard, you understand if I have come out with a sideways comment, it's because I'm ill-informed and I need to be re-informed. but we only do that if we're prepared to listen to other people. So Richard, it's all yours. Thank you for taking the time.
Okay, Mike. Well, you remember last month I gave an update on the Beaverton Climate Action Plan. Very brief. Just kind of read some notes that I had. I just wanted to say that now that we have a new president, they're going to re-enter the Paris Agreement. And if you work down through from the federal government down to the state, you'll see that the governor has issued an executive order directing the state agencies to take action regarding climate change. Also, there's a global warming commission that every 2 years puts out a report, and they put out a report last year. As a part of the legislature, they've passed legislation, and the Department of Environmental Quality now did a lot of information meetings last year, and this year they're going to be developing regulations. They have a regulation advisory committee with, like 20, 25 members, from all kinds of, because they're looking not just at technical issues, they're looking at social justice issues. So they have a lot of nonprofit representatives on this advisory committee. So they'll be developing regulations that affect industry and businesses. And they'll be using regulation to implement various things. Beaverton, then, the Climate Action Plan is designed to align with what the state is doing and what the federal government is doing.
You got muted, Richard.
Richard.
I left my cursor on the audio thing. Sorry. Move that. All right. So the reason I brought up another reason I brought up the Safe Routes to School program, because that is item number 50 in the Beaverton Climate Action Plan. So you get, they are looking at the Safe Routes to School program as a way to reduce the emissions from transportation. And they're hoping that that's one of the things that we'll do. So I think that ties in with that. I also wanted to mention that Beaverton School District just received 2 electric school buses. And they got that. Beaverton's the first school district in the state of Oregon to receive delivery of 2 electric school buses with the help of a $561,727 grant from Portland General Electric.
The magic school bus. It's the magic school bus.
Yep.
Sorry.
They're quiet, they don't pollute, and they just plug them in when they park them. So
Richard, the only thing I heard about those is you have to be very careful that the kids don't fall over the power cable as they drive by.
Yeah. The kids aren't anywhere near the parking lot where they park the buses. Yeah. So transportation is the largest source of emissions in Beaverton. So the Beaverton Climate Action Plan is a lot of the action items are focused on transportation, and the Safe Routes to School is one of many. So there is not any silver bullet for what Beaverton's going to do, or the state or the federal government's going to do. It's what people have called, there's no silver bullet. Instead, there's silver buckshot, where you have to do everything. So we have to think of everything as related to climate action. So Beaverton's going to be moving ahead with that as we go forward. Any questions?
Any questions for Richard?
I think that's awesome. I really love the fact that we can contribute even at a small level like that. I suppose it's hard to say, but I suppose a lot of this work from home stuff that we've done is probably applies to this neighborhood a lot, and so probably our contribution to emissions is probably a lot less as a neighborhood. But anyway, yeah, that's very cool.
But to me it rings true about this sort of death by 1,000 cuts. The true is in reverse about, you know, if we each do our part, all of it will add up to be a significant amount. So sometimes it's not a case of doing something really big. It's all doing a little bit. And I like the initiative, my own comment, I like the initiative where they said they're looking outside of electric cars and things, but how can we change people's behavior so they don't need to walk? Why do they drive to school? Because it's not safe. Well, if we make it safe, they will walk. Has the dual effect that it helps the kids stay healthy, because I knew that I used to cycle to my school, and that was one of the things that kept me fit the whole time, because it was like 5 miles to go to school, but I cycled every day and it kept me fit. Now, whereas if you just take the car because it's the easy option or the safe option, it's looking at different ways of improving things. That's great. Thank you, Richard. Any other comments? Okay, so next then is Miles. You may return from your other meeting.
He says he was here. He chatted.
He is there. He is. Oh, let me just say things.
Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, sorry. Could I just say something? I said to Heidi, who's in a wasp tin, that I would say what she said, and then she typed it and I didn't say it. So let me just close that one. Yeah, she said she was going to go and second the idea for a shredding event. So because she thinks it'll be well attended. So we definitely need to look at that and see what we can do about that. So it's over to you now, Miles. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just mention, tying back to your earlier conversation, when the Highland did their shredding event, they collected canned food and cash donations that they donated to the church they were at, ran a food pantry. And then they donated half to them and then half to the Sunshine Pantry. Yeah.
So the shredding
That's a great idea.
Would be the kickoff to our free pantry.
Could be,
That's
yeah.
a good idea. Yeah.
Just don't confuse the one with the other. You know, make sure you don't shred the food.
Shred the food, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm at 2 NAC meetings at the moment. I've got 2 screens going. I'm listening to both of you at the same time. So if I seem a little distracted, that's why. With the power outages, kind of left the last man standing to take care of this stuff. So February news, the city manager recruitment. So the recruitment for the regular city manager is beginning. We've hired a, what do they call it? An external search firm. I always heard it called a headhunter, yeah. To facilitate support and then to help with engagement opportunities from the community for feedback. Initial plans call for the competitive process to begin this March, and decision by City Council is expected to be announced in early summer. We need the community's help identifying the ideal characteristics that will complement the work that we are already doing today and guide plans for the future. If you visit beavertonoregon.gov/city manager, you can get more information and I believe sign up for lists so that when those opportunities to give feedback come up, that you're aware of them. The city manager is council appointed and oversees most city operations, departments, and the budget, and assists the mayor and city council with putting the city's vision, priorities, and directives into action. And this came out of last year's voter approved new city charter that started on January 1st.
By the way, I have to say I was super impressed with all the candidates they had for, in the candidates forum. I thought pretty top-notch people, no, so it was very impressive that our little town deserves such good people. That's good. Yeah. Yeah,
I think with the more permanent position, it'll be interesting to see the caliber of applicants. I have an equity and public safety update. So during the past year, city leadership and community members have come together to learn and explore experiences with public safety and address systemic racism within city structures and practices. City is engaging with the community to expand and implement positive change. One way that they accomplished that was through the Human Rights Advisory Commission, met with the Beaverton Police Department for a series of inquiry sessions, and the last one wrapped up in January. They finalized some recommendations and they were presented to City Council on January 26th. So you can go back to the city's website and watch that if you want to hear more about what they talked about. But some of the topics include police funding, transparency, policy changes, community connection, and the school resource officer program. If you want to learn more about the city's ongoing equity efforts and work with the community, it's beavertonoregon.gov/beheard. Beaverton received a WEFA loan, and that's a loan from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency for $81 million for water infrastructure projects. It's estimated that it'll save Beaverton $31.3 million over the life of the loan in interest. It's going to finance a series of projects that will enhance the reliability and resiliency of our water system and meet the needs of the growing area. We're going to construct major transmission mains, new water connections, seismically resilient drinking water storage, and we estimate it'll create more than 500 jobs over the life of the project. And the WEFA program is a federal loan program designed to accelerate investment in the nation's water infrastructure. At beaverton.gov
is paying for the project at the well water
the top
storage
of our hill
facility
up there, yeah,
on 135th and
I don't
Hanson
think
Road.
so. I think that's probably
that was a previous project.
Yeah. I'll say this about your city's water department. They're like the platinum of water departments. They are always looking for ways to make sure that we have more than one source of water in case of a catastrophic emergency. They have enough water stored in the ground for every Beaverton household for like peak usage, like summertime, to get us all the way through the summer without additional water sources being available. They take it very seriously. So, and they take a lot of pride in it, and they do a lot of public engagement. So when you do have projects, they're more than happy to come out and talk to you about them. They're pretty nice people for a bunch of engineers.
So I have to agree with you. The folks that I've chatted with who've been, involved in this construction project at the top of our hill, yeah, I mean, you're right. They're all, serious folk, but they're all very nice, and they're very confident. It's great to hear you say that it's, that they're, they're considered to be a good department. I've really enjoyed talking with those guys.
Yeah, and your water rates are lower than your neighbors in Tualatin Valley Water District. So, and the last update I have is Washington County Cooperative Library Services has eliminated overdue fines. So if you had fines, they've been taken off your account. And if you are late returning a book, you won't be fined any longer. It's across the whole county library system. And the reason for this change is there's been tons of studies that show that it impacts people of color and people with lower incomes pretty significantly. And the library's mission is to meet all resident Washington County's needs where they're at. And so this has been a long time coming, I think. I'm excited about it. My town where I grew up, got rid of library fines for the same reason like 30 years ago. And I always wondered why Washington County still had them. And the amount of revenue that they actually generate after you take out the staff time and the collections and the processing fees is pretty minimal compared to the impact that they have on people. And you can learn more about that at wccdls.org/find-free. And next time you're putting some books on hold. And that's all my updates.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions?
So we had one earlier. Debbie, do you want to ask your question again, or shall I ask it for you? This was related, oh no, sorry, it was Lisa, the private land, the city-owned land that we could put art objects on.
Yeah, we talked about it briefly last meeting, and I don't know how big of a project it would be for, you had mentioned that like there might be a team that could put together a usable map for us so we could see what city-owned land was within our NAC.
Sure, I put that request in. They haven't gotten to it yet.
Sure.
So
I totally understand. I'm sure it's not like super high priority. And honestly, it might honestly be something best to wait till good weather, you know, decent weather. At least, I mean, some art would not survive freezing, you know, snow and ice. A lot of art would not survive that. So yeah, that's fine. Whenever you get it, if you just want to pass it along, that'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Has anyone driven past the police building?
Yeah, I noticed there's some glowy things there in the corner. Is that
the glowy art, stainless steel art with different LED colors in them all night long? So yeah.
I haven't seen that yet.
It's interesting to go by. It's really modernistic. But,
it's in the plaza on the corner.
I think it's really cool, especially when it's blue.
Well, you just have to stand there long enough and they'll get to your color because they change all different colors. So.
True.
Any other questions for Miles at all? Thank you for your update, Miles.
I give one more comment. I caught a good portion of your discussion earlier. I also mentioned that for the person who's already putting food out in your community, you have a pretty substantial treasury. And if you wanted to make a donation to them to buy product for that, that's completely, the board would vote on it. But I just wanted to make sure that you knew that that treasury is the NAC's money and the board decides how to spend it. So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that comment. And I think let's put a plan together and that may be one of the options that we can do. That would be really great.
Miles, if I remember right, it was you that we need, if we want to move forward with scheduling a shred event in the NAC.
I'll help you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, just put a team together or who's ever going to take the lead and we'll set up a meeting and walk through it.
We'll talk about that in a couple of seconds when we get to the either the round table or our involvement thing. I think that would be useful. Okay, any other questions then? Thank you very much, Miles, for being part of that. So the next piece on the agenda, and we seem to be spot on time, which is always nice. If I can succeed in one thing, it's actually making sure we're on time. So increasing the NAC involvement. So any more thoughts and comments on that? I think the piece that I mentioned earlier about breaking the NAC up into smaller groups, and then maybe it would give us some key people in those particular areas that either had a food pantry who may want to be part of what we're doing here. So that may get a greater involvement. But has anyone else had any ideas for greater involvement in the NAC?
So I don't have a lot of like tangible ideas about this yet, but I was trying to do some research into like participatory government models as far as like, I mean, it sounds, I guess, to say putting an incentive out there is a little like, what are we going to give people, like a $5 Starbucks gift card for coming to the NAC? Like, that's not what I mean, but just like, it actually came from Lacey Beatty at one of the city council meetings last year, talking about how the city had been soliciting stories and just, you know, feedback from people of color in Beaverton. And she was like, we can't just keep doing that and asking people to spend their time and emotional energy and everything, sharing their stories with us, and then not do anything for them, and then also not be giving them anything for their time. And I thought that was like really interesting feedback. And so she was talking about some sort of participatory model for that, but I wondered if there's something that we could do with the NAC. And again, like I said, I don't have this like totally fleshed out, but I really do like the idea of breaking our NAC up into smaller communities. Because for me, I would love to do something sponsored by the NAC, but directly for Sterling Point. I think that could be really awesome.
Right.
And if we did that, we could probably get a lot more people at Sterling Point to even know that the NAC exists, you know?
Yeah.
So.
I'm going to hold my tongue because my wife says I talk too much. So, but then she's with me 24 hours a day. So that's probably true. Any comment, any supporting comments to that? And I agree with you. I think you don't necessarily have to give people money or rewards, but they have to feel that you're doing something with them or for them or helping them solve a problem they've got, which doesn't necessarily have to be financial, but just sometimes it's a case of just hearing somebody is enough for them to realize that someone's hearing them now, and it's not a case that there's a voice in the dark not getting anywhere. So I think that's important. Any other comments about involvement?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my thought is, you know, I think all of us have become active in the NAC for reasons that we had an issue that we needed the NAC to help us deal with. So I guess that's what I've struggled with, is how do we empower people to want to be a part of this group if it isn't something that necessarily benefits them directly? Because I think that's the real challenge. And you know, it's funny that Lisa mentioned that, because I kind of was like, well, I mean, we could do some, I don't know if it's allowed for us to do some sort of a raffle every month to try to get people to come, but that seems not really within the means of why we're all gathering. But you know, I don't know. I don't have any answers. Like I think that the smaller NACs is good from the standpoint of accountability too. Like I think if there's more people that are interacting with their direct neighbors, then it kind of is going to lead people to feel like they should be more involved.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, thank you. Thank you for your comment. Any other comments? Because I think sometimes there's a case that some people like to serve, but they don't know where to serve. So it's not until they see a need that they can help with that they can actually do something about it. So sometimes the other side of it is not rewarding people because they're part of it, but the reward they get is because they're now helping somebody that they really wanted to help, or they had an ability to do something for somebody else. And I think that sometimes can be reward enough. And again, let me make sure that I not misunderstood. When we say about breaking the NAC into smaller groups, it's still one NAC, but just subdividing it enough so people can have an impact of where they are, instead of just feeling, oh, I don't know anyone here, it's all too big. And there are definitely areas, I agree with you, Heidi. A lot of us are involved because of something that happened 3-4 years ago, but there must be other people out there that have some problems that they need solved and they can't. And again, this walking to school, this safe school. Driving around here, I have found some junctions that are really deadly because there is no street light and you can't see people walking until they're right on top of you because it's so dark on those corners. So again, one of the silly ideas I had, I don't know if you've seen that TV ad about those spotlights, solar powered spotlights that you can get for $19.99. You know, maybe there's something we could do that by putting them on these dark corners where kids are walking so that people can see them as they walk up. They come on and then they go off and they're not there, but just having something to help people see, you know, keep them safe. I think it helps the drivers and also helps the walkers to do something like that. Okay, let's keep moving on then. So Roundtable forum. I sent something out to everybody. Oh, maybe I didn't. Maybe I forgot. There is a Red Cross flyer from Jacleen Simmons. Has anyone else seen that? Okay, I was going to send it out with the agenda and I think I forgot. Anyway, this is a group that are looking to, they have a presentation to walk people through what the Red Cross do. And I'm not sure if you've heard about it, but every time you hear about a house fire or somebody, they say, oh, the Red Cross are helping them find housing or giving them clothes or something else. So I was approached by, I was sent an email by Jacleen Simmons saying that there is this presentation that they will do. And I was going to suggest that that may be something where we could bring that into one of our discussion groups where we have her talk about what they do and maybe anything in this particular NAC area where we may be able to help them in what they're trying to do in serving the community. So I will, when I get off of this meeting, I will send that flyer out to you and maybe you can comment on that. I apologize for not sending it out any earlier. Any other agenda items that anyone can think of that we'd like to include? We do have the West Hills Baptist Church. They are applying for their modification to their buildings, their structure. So they will be here next week. And then we also heard from, was it Richard that we have the, no, sorry, from Gary, that we have this 2001 or sorry, yeah, 2001 initiative. So they'll be here at some time.
Yeah, March through May.
March through May at some time. Miles, did you have a time when they're asking? I haven't seen anything come across my email yet.
Maybe paying attention to the other meetings.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I'll catch up with them later. Yeah.
Hey, I wondered, Mike, when you talk about agenda items, it seemed like when we went on to Zoom, we stopped getting the Tualatin Hills Fire gang talking to us. Is that?
Yeah, we had something last week, which was just a video from them. I will reach out to them again and find out. I'm not sure whether they have Zoom
the video, right.
Whether they have the Zoom capabilities in their station. It would be good to get updates from them as well. I'll reach out and try and find out about that. Any other things that anyone wanted to talk about?
The bank balance hasn't changed since last month.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You mean we're not getting interest on this?
Unfortunately, we're not.
7,000.
But there's also no extortion either, so you know.
Oh, right, yeah. No, was that no distortion?
I didn't buy any GameStop stocks with the money. So.
Oh gosh. Heidi, don't do it.
I don't think I'm authorized.
No, it'd take two of us to sign that off.
But I do like Miles's idea of using some of our money to help with the food donation stations, whatever we want to call them. Yeah.
I wasn't entirely sure that was allowed, or just, I mean, I guess I didn't think it was like prohibited, but I wasn't sure if we wanted to do that. I personally don't want to just do that, but if we're allowed to do that and to provide some other sort of support or, you know, volunteering or something, that would be fantastic to be able
the power of that thing is when you see neighbors step up for other neighbors, right?
Exactly.
As opposed to
just giving money.
And what would be good would be to actually, I love the idea of, I can't remember who mentioned it, but map it, put the overlay map, so we can see if there's any areas where we don't have any, which may need some. You know, I don't know if there's any in Sterling Point, you know.
Or just to give people an indication of where they can go, right? That they don't know about them.
Right. But again, coming back to this individual community, if you've got one in your community area, in your walking area, that's better than you having to walk halfway across Beaverton to go pick something up. You know, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
After all, everyone can come to Mike's house for his fridge. Yeah.
You got to get up my driveway first, though.
For your empty fridge.
Past the trees that are down.
Past the falling trees and the ice and I'll give you a shovel. You can actually dig me out. So. Okay, Miles, I asked a question about this initiative 2001. Gary mentioned that they will be trying to get to each of the NACs. Do you have you been told yet about a time that they want to come to ours?
Which initiative is this? Which group?
This is Martin. Gary, you can help me here.
Brian Martin.
The
Brian Martin.
Or the housing.
Brian Martin and the House Bill 2001 project.
Didn't Brian Martin come to this meeting a couple months ago?
We've had at least 2 presentations about the housing bill.
But yeah. I didn't know if this was a new one, which was an update, because what they were explaining in Gary's update is that they're now putting plans together. They've got some initiatives. They're using Cooper Mountain as an example. So I wasn't sure if they had another update that they wanted to give us.
Not that I'm aware of yet, but
okay.
I will let you know when they ask about it, or if they get too far down the line without asking, I'll ask.
Okay. And the
Miles,
other...
just a 30-second update. He brought that to the BCCI last week and said that they were going to be taking it through the NACs and the BCCI in the future. That was the March through May. There was also Beaverton School District shared the status of their facilities plan, and those are not to be confused. The Beaverton School District was at the NAC meeting month before last.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I will mention that I think it was last week at council, Brian Martin gave an update kind of on House Bill 2001. It's really interesting about how segregation happens and why it's happened in our community, racial segregation. It was very fascinating. From HOAs to state laws to the way we design houses to the size of lots, kind of all work together to keep people separated. So if you have time to watch it, it's worth it.
Yeah, I can attest to that. Look at what they did to me when I said I wanted to come over here as a British guy. They said, you've got to be up on the top of the hill, out of the way, so no one can actually see you. So. Yeah.
And you have to learn to speak English.
Well, yeah. I've thought about putting some demarcation lines on my driveway to say if this is British territory if you come up here. Yeah.
It didn't work out too well for the British last time.
No, we actually left. We decided your trade deficit was bigger than ours, so we said, you keep it. And plus the fact you don't know how to make tea, you try to make it with salt water in the Boston Harbor, and I said, that's not the way you make good tea. So we do have Karen Perez de Silva. This is the school board candidate. Miles, they've started asking if they can come, and I know last time to do this, we've got to have everyone invited. So should I just pass that by you? You're muted, I can't hear you.
Everyone who's filed, so she's the only one who's filed to date. She's the only one you need to invite, but I'll look.
Okay, that's fine, but then that's somebody else who may come.
Is this her?
I'm sorry?
There's a Maria here now.
No, this is Karen Perez.
Oh, I'm sorry.
De Silva. Yeah.
Okay.
Is the school board election in May? Is that the same?
May 18th, yes.
So would they be part of the voters forum?
The BCCI subcommittee will decide who to invite.
Okay.
There's a bunch of school board seats open. There's 3 park district seats open.
Right.
And then,
1 city council.
And 1 city council. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll coordinate with you then, Miles, so that we make sure we keep it even and
okay.
Okay, well, we're out of time, guys. Thank you so much, guys and guysesses. I mean that non-sexually, in the sense of I class you all as the same. Peoples. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you for your contribution. I think we had a very valuable very valuable comments, and I look forward to trying to move forward on some of them. I think we have some great ideas on that. The last thing I did say that we would try and do, who wants to take the shredding action as a subcommittee, either one or two of you? Heidi, would you like to be part of it?
Sure.
And then
I think
Debbie?
at some point Frosty expressed interest in being involved too.
Can I ask you three? Heidi, I know you talk to Frosty all the time, but can I ask you three then, Frosty, Debbie, and Heidi, to figure out what we need to do and when we can schedule it, and then we'll move forward on that one for sure.
Okay.
And,
Sure.
and I think the food bank thing is a great thing. You know, bring your stuff to be shredded and bring some food, and we can start using that as a pantry. Okay.
I can try to help with that as well.
Okay, great. Well, I wasn't trying to cut anyone out. Anyone else want to be part of it? So Heidi, Kristal, and Debbie, and Frosty. Sorry, Kristal, I wasn't trying to cut you out on that. They just
You're fine.
mentioned. Yep. Okay, if we are done, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for your time. Stay safe, stay warm. Don't go to Texas. They've got no power.
Or water in some cases.
Yeah, and no water now either. Yeah. No,